Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of TCG Talk, back today with another video. And in today's video, I wanted to go a little bit more in depth on the One Piece TCG and kind of give just a general layout of like why you should play the game, what is different about this TCG as to others, especially like Flesh and Blood, which is what most people follow me for. I had a comment in my last One Piece video, which is a completely fair comment of like, this video is great and all, but it doesn't really tell me anything about the game. Like, why should I play it? Like, what's the point? And like, I didn't even think about that, like, which sucks to say out loud, but it does. Like, as someone who has mainly been like a one card game channel, even though I play 5-6 card games myself, like privately, I'm still figuring out like how to do this, right? Like how to do multiple card games. So please bear with me, especially if you're a long time subscriber. The person who commented on it, I won't say their name if they want me to, but they've been subbed for 8 months. So it's someone who's watched my content a lot. And I just want to let you know, like, I completely see that feedback and I hear it. But whether you're a new person or a returning Flesh and Blood like follower, stuff like that, I want to kind of give you like, if you're a new player, like why should you invest in the One Piece, and then as a player, and then if you're a Flesh and Blood player coming from a different TCG, like what makes One Piece better than other card games. So first thing I'm gonna go to is like the cards, the different style of cards. We'll look at the play mat. I'll talk about like mechanics of the game and talk about the phases that the game plays in, and then also kind of give you like some suggestions to buy a product as well. So for the cards in One Piece, it's similar to Flesh and Blood, or similar to, I'm trying to think, maybe Commander. I'm trying to think of different card games that have like leader based stuff, like Hearthstone, where you have a leader, right? And your leader has a life attached to it, which is in the happenstance of cards. And then basically you're allowed to play cards that go after that fit with that leader's color. So similar if you're coming from Flesh and Blood, like we only can play like warrior cards with Dorinthia or something like that. It's similar to that. So you pick a leader. There are single color leaders like Zoro here, who's a really aggro character. And there's also dual colored leaders like Law, who can play red and green. So if you're coming from Digimon, you're right at home with this. But even if you're coming from Flesh and Blood or Hearthstone or something like that, you'll kind of understand the concept. So you build your deck around these leaders and this leader's ability. So for example, with Zoro, he's a red kind of aggro-based character, and his ability is you attach one resource to him, and when you do that, all of your characters gain 1,000 power, which basically means like these can be really strong, right, and attacking and really aggressive. Law has a very not complex ability itself, but basically it says like once you have 5 creatures on the field, I'll use the term creatures, they're called characters, but if you're coming from Magic, it's basically creatures. 5 creatures on the field, which is like the max you're allowed to have at any given time on your field, then you can basically swap out lower cost. It lets you bounce one card out of your 5 to put a new card down on the opposite color. So if you have a 1 cost, like really low power character on the field, you can bounce it up to your hand. Let's say it's green, then you can put a 5 cost red character down for only paying the price of 2, which we'll get into the resources here in a second. Again, this game is based off resources, or called Dawn, which is like mana or lands in Magic. It's in Flesh and Blood and Digimon, you kind of use like your own cards for resources, right? But if you're coming from Magic or coming from anything that has a mana based system, you'll be right at home. So Dawn, basically every turn, if you go first, then you only flip 1 Dawn, but every turn after that, subsequently you flip 2 Dawn. So you go from 1 resource, your next turn you'll have 3 resources available, your next turn you'll have 5 on, and so on and so forth. And it goes up to 10. And basically you use Dawn to do several things. You use it to play character cards, like this event card right here, Gung Gung Jet Pistol. As you can see in the top left, it's a 4 cost card. So you would use 4 Dawn in order to play it. It also can be used to buff cards. We have certain cards that can buff others. I don't have a character card in here. I don't know why I put that in there. But they're basically just character cards, like creature cards that cost money to put onto the field, or cost resources to put onto the field. And you use Dawn to do that. You then also can use Dawn to buff your characters. So certain characters will say for 1 Dawn, you can activate X ability. So let's say you have 5 Dawn in your mana pile. Use, let's say, 4 of them to cast this card right here, and then you want to use your 1 remaining one, put it under somebody, under one of your creature cards or character cards, in order to buff their power when you attack. So that's kind of like how the resource system works. So the resource system, and then at the end of every turn, or at the start of your next turn, you'll return all the Dawn that you used. So let's say you have 6 Dawn spread out on the field between all your characters. You'll pull all 6 of those back in, add whatever Dawn you're supposed to add on, and then reset your mana, so to speak, if that makes sense. So it's almost like you're untapping your mana. So all sounds pretty familiar, right? All sounds pretty similar to like other card games you may have came from. You have on top of character cards or creature cards, you have what are called event cards, which are these. Event cards are similar to like landmarks in Magic, if I had to give a suggestion, or even like ones in Digimon where you have like, you know, tamers and stuff like that and events. It's very similar like style to Digimon with the type of cards. And then you also have stage cards, which these are like your landmarks more so than events. They have like a static ability. Like when you rest this, so you put like Thousand Sunny down, set Thousand Sunny down, and in your main phase, you may activate this stage. Up to one of your Straw Hat Crew leader or character card on the field gains 1,000 power this turn. And then that kind of gets us into how the game works. So the game is laid out like this. You have a character area in the top. You can have up to 5 characters on the field at any given time. You have your leader card, which is shown by number 2 there. Your leader is like where you base everything around. You have stage cards, and then you have your deck and your trash, and then your cost area, which is where your Dons go. So where you see number 7 there, you flip your Don into your cost area, adding 2 every time, unless it's turn 1 where you only add 1. And then that's the mana that you can use in the game. And then life is number 8, whereas once you draw up to 5, which is what everybody starts their game with, 5 cards, you then place 5 cards off the top of your deck in order on your life section, and that is your life. So basically, the way you win the game, there's 2 ways to win the game in this game. You either reduce your opponent's life to 0 or you deck them out. The way you take off a life in this game is that you attack their leader. And if you hit, right, and they can't defend it, then they take 1 life off. There's certain cards in the game that can attack for 2 life, stuff like that. But for the most part, 1 life. The way you do that is similar to Digimon. So every character, as we saw in the first one, if I pull this up, if you can see in the top right, has 5,000 power. In order to win a battle, when you attack a character, every time you attack, you either can attack rested creatures, which are similar to Magic, like where if you attack with a creature of Magic and it's turned sideways, that character can then be attacked, right? Or something like that. Or Digimon, you either can attack rested characters or the leader. Attacking the leader is the only way to take life off of an opponent. So it starts at 5,000. Basically, it means every time you attack the leader with one of your attack cards or your character cards, you have to equal or be greater than their power. So if every character is 5,000, then your attack must be at least 5,000 in order to try to take life off, right? So that's how that works. So that's how everybody starts. Getting into the phases of how this game works. And again, in my last video, I had True Champion Steven. I linked his video on how to play. Definitely go into that. I'm not going to go super in depth on how to play, but you basically have a refresh phase where you bring all your Don back to your cost area to reset your resources. You have your draw phase where you draw 1 card. Then you have your Don phase, which is where you either place Don on cards to make them more powerful, or or you like maneuver them around, and then you're allowed to play cards as well, or attack a leader, etc. And then in phase, your opponent is when their turn starts. So one of the big aspects about this game that I think is really interesting is like it's similar to Flesh and Blood, where you're basically attacking the hero every time, the opposing hero, in order to reduce their life total. The way blocking works in this game is basically if someone's attacking me for 5,000, most character cards have a counter, and I'm sorry I don't have it here in this video. I just don't want to have to redo it. Basically, on the side of each character, there's this little red spot that says counter, and it basically means that if someone's attacking my hero, let's say they're attacking for 6,000, and my hero is only at 5,000. So in order to block the attack and not take life off, I have to get my character up to 2,000 power, up to 7,000 power, 1,000 above theirs, in order to block it. So basically this character right here, which is Otama, has a 2,000 counter. Basically that means it's in my hand, and in order to block, I say, okay, I will counter with Otama, which takes my hero from 5,000 to 7,000, and I block your attack. And then you discard that card. So one of the cool mechanics in this game is if you have a 5-card hand and they all have counters, let's say someone attacks you for 7,000, where you have to now get your character up to 8,000 in order to block that attack and not take damage. If all your counters are only 1,000, you basically have to discard 3 cards in order to block that. So similar to Flesh and Blood, right? Then you only have 2 cards in hand. Then let's say they stop their turn, then you only are allowed to draw 1 card. So now you have 3 cards in hand. So there's a lot of hand management in this game. You have to decide when to block, when not to block, because when someone attacks you, unless they banish that card from your life pool, you get to add that card to your deck. So those top 5 cards that are your life, when someone attacks one of those cards and kills it, you're allowed to add to your hand, which can be very beneficial sometimes. So there's a lot of hand management. There's a lot of different things you can do. The game has a similar pace, in my opinion, to Magic, where like it's slowly ramping up, right? Like you get stronger as you go along. You don't get weaker as you go along like you do in Flesh and Blood. However, there's definitely some iterations that make it, more fun. If you're coming from Flesh and Blood, or you're coming not from Digimon, because like it's similar to Digimon, but if you're coming from Flesh and Blood or coming from Magic, I think one of the cool things about this game is, one, the block system with countering to block with cards in hand. And then 2, I think one thing is also cool is just being able to play around a hero. If you're not coming from Flesh and Blood, like playing around a hero is really fun, and playing around like one specific deck type, it really hones it in. It makes deck building more fun, in my opinion, because there's a theme to your deck, like a true like theatric theme to it that's just outside of like a Goblin deck or a Angels deck or whatever. Like I know Magic has that, but the one thing that Flesh and Blood has, that One Piece has, is like you have a hero, you have an identity attached to you as you're playing. So that's really fun. Another thing that's really important is the block step. I think is really cool, where, in the Dawn phase, if I want to add Dawn to make my attacks more powerful, there's also effects in the game that require Dawn in order to do certain things. Like you can do card removal and stuff like that. But that's really cool. And overall, it's just the pace of the game is really fun, and I really enjoy it. I really think it's a good thing to do. If you've watched the anime, you'll obviously be at home and you'll love it. Kind of looking at product, like the easiest thing to get started with is the starter decks. The starter decks, most local game stores have them right now. Selling, there's come in huge boxes. It really depends on where you're at for how much they cost. Personally, right now, like on TCG Player, like at the time of recording this video, the starter decks are going for about $20, $15 to $20. It's at $17.94 plus shipping. So you're looking at paying $20 for one of these starter decks. They have the promo leaders, which is really cool. And they're actually not bad. Like the starter decks, obviously, if you're trying to go to like a big tournament, aren't as competitive. But the good thing about this game right now is, because it's so early, because it just released December 2nd, a lot of people are just going to be trying out fun builds. People might not have all the ideal cards they need because maybe they bought just a box and a starter deck or something like that. So you're not going to get like ran over if you buy a starter deck. If you were to pick one of these starter decks, I think the best starter deck is the purple deck, followed by the green deck. I think the green deck's a good one to get to, because Kid's going to be really viable in the upcoming meta. But yeah, let me know what you think is like your favorite. Really, it depends on like what you think your favorite archetype is. Red is really aggro based. Green's kind of like a ramp deck, or like ramp, if you know what that is, or like gets stronger as time goes on. Blue is like more like deck manipulation, like manipulating your own deck in order to like get to the cards you need to get. And then purple is like pure control. Obviously those cards, or those colors, have like even deeper like archetypes, but at a base level, that's what you can expect from each color. Sorry, my dog is underneath me. But yeah, so hopefully this gives you a little bit better idea. If it doesn't, then I like content where I do like deck profiles and kind of like quick serving content. I don't do super in-depth stuff, basically because there's people out there who do it better than me, and I'm not as comfortable with it. So hopefully this helped a little bit, kind of give you an idea what the game's about. If there's something specific that I have not covered about the game that you want me to cover, I will cover it. I don't have a ton of time to edit, and I'm sorry about that. My life, I have a full-time job, and I don't have the skill set that other people have with editing, and I wish I did. So I really apologize for that, but hopefully that this made some sense. Hopefully this helps a little bit more, especially for ones that made comments about like, it didn't really help them too much. I want to be able to. I'm going to be doing more One Piece content based off my experiences in the game, and I love the game itself. It rivals Flesh and Blood and how fun the game is for me. So I'm really enjoying it. But yeah, if you like this, please leave a like, comment, subscribe. If you didn't like this, you can dislike. That's fine. Someone disliked the last video, so it's okay. Go to another creator, like and comment on their stuff. Support their stuff so we can get more people seeing these games and really enjoying themselves, especially around the holiday season. Giving someone something someone can latch onto and have some fun with. Yeah, hopefully y'all have a great rest of your week. Hopefully y'all stay safe, and I'll see y'all next time on TCG Talk. Thank y'all so much.